Wait, that's sewage water flowing into a wheat field. On purpose. 104 million people live on 4% of Egypt's land. Every hour, farmland the size of 2 football fields disappears under concrete.
So Egypt is building a second delta from nothing, 9,240 square kilometers, almost 9% of the entire country.
$15 billion, a canal 170 kilometers long. And the water it carries never touches the Nile at all.
On May 17, 2026, Egypt's president switched it on.
So how do you grow a nation's food supply out of water nobody wanted? Egypt is 96% desert. Almost everyone lives in the remaining 4%, along the Nile. That strip has fed Egypt for over 5,000 years. It's running out of room. 104 million people now live in that same narrow strip. Every single hour, roughly 1,000 square meters of farmland disappears under new construction. This is some of the most fertile soil on Earth. It's disappearing anyway. Egypt tried to solve this once before. That plan pumped water from Lake Nasser, deep in the south, out into the open desert. It worked, but it used some of Egypt's most precious resource, fresh Nile water. This time, Egypt tried something almost nobody attempts at this scale.
Instead of taking more from the river, they'd reuse what the river already gave up.
Water that used to just run out to sea. Wasted.
The plan: catch it, clean it, send it back out into new desert farmland instead.
That facility is the real starting point of this entire project. The new Delta wastewater treatment plant, El Hammam, on the Mediterranean coast, named for the small coastal town nearest to it. 5 million cubic meters of water, processed here every single day. It's now considered the largest wastewater treatment plant on the planet. $522 million. 6,500 workers built it. 27 million work hours total. For comparison, that's roughly the size of 45 football fields of pure treatment infrastructure. Ahmed El Adalani, a board member at Arab Contractors, helped run it. 4 separate companies, 1 joint contract, 3 parallel work streams, he said. Every schedule had to line up exactly. Agricultural runoff, industrial water, treated sewage, all of it funneled here first. Get the treatment wrong, and none of what comes next matters. Ashraf Ayoub, senior supervision manager on the project, put it plainly. The new Delta plant is a benchmark in the treatment of irrigation water in Egypt, he said. So the water passes through stage after stage, filtering, settling, disinfecting. By the final stage, it meets standards for large-scale irrigation. 4 separate treatment units run in parallel around the clock. Each one alone could supply a mid-sized city with clean water. Together, they process more water in a day than most rivers carry. From here, the water still has a very long way to go. First, it runs along the coast, roughly 50 kilometers. Then it does something almost nobody expects. It goes underground. 431,000 cubic yards of concrete went into this facility alone. 10 separate pipes, each one 3 meters wide. Together, they carry the water 22 kilometers straight through the desert underground. Bury a pipe that size, that far, and the ground itself becomes the enemy. Shifting sand doesn't hold a trench shape, not without help. Every meter of that buried route had to be reinforced before the pipe could go in at all. Groundwater pockets, invisible from the surface, occasionally flooded the open trench. Crews pumped it out, sealed the section, and kept moving. 22 kilometers of that, one section at a time. Then, 22 kilometers later, the water resurfaces. From there, another 42 kilometers of open canal carries it deeper into the desert. 170 kilometers total, door to door, coast to desert. 19 major pumping stations lift the water's pressure again and again against the natural slope of the land. Without them, gravity alone couldn't push water this far.
One engineer described the entire route in blunt terms. We're not moving water. We're dragging it, kicking and screaming into the desert.
Then came the money problem. 800 billion Egyptian pounds, around $15 billion total. For a country already managing significant national debt, that's an enormous bet. Officials called it the largest horizontal agricultural expansion in modern Egyptian history. Officials project up to 2 million jobs, direct and indirect, once the project matures. Critics called it something else, a gamble the country couldn't easily walk back from. Then came the second problem. Not everyone agreed the water itself was safe. This water started as agricultural drainage and treated sewage, not river water. Some researchers raised concerns about salts, heavy metals, and incomplete treatment reaching crops. Officials insist the treatment process meets international irrigation standards. Independent monitoring groups say long-term soil impact still needs more data. Comparable reused water farming exists elsewhere. Israel and parts of the American Southwest, for example. Those projects over decades have shown it can work, with careful, ongoing monitoring. Careful and ongoing are the two words doing all the work in that sentence. It's not a settled argument. Both sides have real points. A separate concern came from small farmers, not scientists. Large new developments got reliable water access. Older, smaller farms sometimes didn't.
One farmer's comment translated was blunt. They found billions for new land. My canal has been dry for 2 years.
That tension isn't new to Egypt. It's not unique to this project either. But it's a real cost, sitting quietly beside the engineering achievement.
Meanwhile, further east, a related project was already proving the concept could work. The Bar El Bakar plant, built to reclaim desert in the Sinai Peninsula. It broke 2 Guinness World Records for scale, over 2 billion cubic meters treated every year, enough for 1,400 square kilometers of new farmland.
It proved reused water could genuinely grow food at real scale. It also processes 8 cubic meters of water every single second, enough for one person's average yearly water use in under 9 minutes. That precedent gave planners confidence to attempt something even larger. Back on the main canal, construction crews faced their own daily battle: the desert itself.
Ground temperatures here regularly exceed 45 degrees Celsius. Fresh concrete cracks fast in that kind of heat if it isn't protected.
So crews shifted major pours to the coolest hours available. Some sections were only poured after midnight. Sandstorms added their own unpredictable delay. A storm can bury a graded section under fresh sand in a single afternoon. When it clears, crews simply start that section over. One project supervisor summed up the daily reality. Out here, the desert doesn't negotiate. You just start again.
Equipment failure added its own delays. Hydraulic seals fail faster in extreme heat. Replacement parts sometimes traveled hundreds of kilometers to reach an active site. None of it stopped the schedule for long. Despite all of it, the canal reached its final stretch. Center pivot irrigation systems were already staged and waiting, each one up to 400 meters long, capable of watering 50 hectares in a single rotation. The water hadn't arrived yet, but the infrastructure was ready and waiting for it.
Then everything changed. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi formally inaugurated the new Delta project. The switch was flipped. Water began its 170-kilometer journey for real.
State television carried the moment live across the entire country. For a government betting $15 billion on this exact moment, it had to work. Workers who had spent years on this project watched it happen.
One worker's reaction was simple and completely unscripted. "We built the road for it. Now we just watch it run." Within days, the first pivot arms began to turn.
Dry sand, visibly darkening, for the first time in recorded history at this exact spot.
The real test wasn't the water arriving. It was what grew afterward.
Early trial plots gave the first answer: wheat, growing in soil that had never held a crop before.
Egypt currently imports a significant share of its wheat every year. Global grain prices, wars, shipping disruptions, all of it affects a country that depends on imports. Growing more at home isn't just agriculture, it's national security in a very literal sense.
Every hectare grown here is 1 hectare Egypt doesn't have to buy from somewhere else. That's the entire strategic bet in one sentence. Officials are calling this Egypt's largest horizontal agricultural expansion ever attempted. 2 million fedans, roughly 9,240 square kilometers. For context, that's larger than the entire country of Cyprus. Almost 9% of Egypt's entire land area, from what used to be nothing.
Not all of it is planted yet. Most of it isn't. The canal is finished. The treatment plant is running. The land is still catching up. This isn't a finished success story yet. It's a bet still being placed. The soil safety question is still being studied. The water access fairness question hasn't gone away either.
But the water is moving, every single day without pause.
1,000 square meters of farmland still vanish under Cairo's concrete. Every single hour. 9,240 square kilometers of new farmland are meant to replace it, eventually. Whether that math actually balances is still an open question.
For now, water that used to be wasted is growing wheat in the Sahara.
Whether it feeds a nation the way it's meant to is still years away from being answered. And out here, past the last finished section, they are still digging.